everyone, Dr. John Paul here. I wanted to talk to you all a little bit more about what toxic masculinity is and why it's so important for us to give attention to it as we talk about breaking down the different stereotypes and ideals when we're discussing issues in relation to men and masculinity. So the first thing that I wanted to kind of bring up in this conversation is, what is toxic masculinity? Well, first off, toxic masculinity is this idea that anyone who identifies as cisgender male has to be a real man. What does it mean to be a real man? Well, oftentimes when we talk about someone being a real man, we're alluding to this idea of the binary. And I know for many of you, you're probably asking, well, hell, Dr. Higgins, what is the binary? So the binary is oftentimes connected to this idea that someone has to present as male or female, whether it be through actions, the way that someone presents, the way someone dresses, or the way that someone does something. So case in point, the binary as well as toxic masculinity feeds into this idea that men are not supposed to have connections with one another. They're not supposed to touch. They're not supposed to hug. They're not supposed to be quote unquote in a relationship. But we all know that toxic masculinity promotes this idea that men cannot be connected to who they really are, specifically when we're talking about emotions. So why is this problematic? When we're talking about the binary as well as toxic masculinity, what we start having to acknowledge is the idea that society doesn't allow men to connect with their emotions. So why does this create a bigger problem? Because every single mass shooting that has happened in America has been done by someone who presents as cisgender male. When we start talking about toxic masculinity, emotions, and the binary, we start having to acknowledge that a lot of men carry aggression. What we're actually doing is we're telling men that they cannot be connected to who they truly are, while we're also perpetuating this idea that there's something wrong with being feminine or being female. So what could we do to start breaking down the wall of toxic masculinity? Well, first, we can stop telling men to be real men. Gender and sexuality are two different things. Do your Googles. Gender and sexuality have nothing to do with each other. And so it's important for us to stop telling men to be real men, because it's not about how you present, but it's about who you believe that you truly are. The next thing that we can do is stop villainizing this idea of being feminine. Being in touch with your emotions and being connected to who you are is important because mental health matters. And so when we start telling someone that they have to disconnect from their emotional needs and the connection of others, what we're ultimately doing is suppressing the one thing that we were put on this earth to do, and that's to connect. The most important thing that we should all acknowledge is that it's important for us not to police other people's gender. Whether you're male, female, gender non-conforming, or you don't subscribe to the binary, it's your life and you have the option to do whatever you want to do. Telling someone that they have to show up a certain way is not only problematic, but it's hurtful. So what's most important for us to take away from this video is to know that toxic masculinity only fuels this idea that there's something wrong with being a woman. And so the next time you hear someone say, man up, or don't be a girl, call them out and let people know that there's nothing wrong with the way that someone shows up if they're comfortable with it. If you hear someone use those terms and you decide not to speak up, you're ultimately fueling the problems that we already have in our community. So say something, because silence is violence. Thanks for watching this video, and make sure you subscribe not only to my channel, but you follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook by using the handle @Dr. John Paul. Until next time, everybody, take care of yourself and each other. Bye.